In this presentation, we're looking at centrally managed users in the Oracle database. It takes advantage of the Kerberos authentication, of which I created a video on YouTube in another session. Centrally managed users is a feature of Oracle Database Enterprise Edition since version 18 of the database. It enables users and roles to be identified globally from Microsoft Active Directory. And in that respect, it maps users and roles in the database to users or groups in Active Directory. It simplifies the joiner, mover, leaver process, as removing group membership in Active Directory removes access to the database, for instance. No extra components to install or configure. After the setup of Kerberos, it's a simple few steps to get centrally managed users working. First of all, we have to decide on how to identify / authenticate the users. One way is to use Active Directory authentication, identification, and authentication to do that. The disadvantage of that is that there is to be a schema extension in Active Directory. The other way is to use Kerberos authentication. And Kerberos authentication needs to be configured first before we continue with CMU. So never try to do both in one go. First get Kerberos completely configured, and then after that switch to or add CMU to the equation. So these are the steps for setting up centrally managed users. We first create a CMU service account. This is a generic Active Directory account, and that can be used for multiple databases. And that is different than with Kerberos authentication. The service principal in that case is per database instance. But for CMU, there's one service account that can be created. The next step is the connectivity from the database to Active Directory using TLS. In step 3, we create a group in Active Directory and add users as members for connecting to the database and also for role membership. And then the configuration of the database needs to be done. An initialization parameter needs to be set, and we are creating a so-called DSI.aura. And then in step 5, we can create the database users. Steps 6 and 7 are interchanged in my introduction or in this flow, but you can create roles identified globally. And the last test is about testing the setup. So a shared account created in Active Directory that can be shared for all your databases. For the lookup, the database uses that, I call it the CMU service account, for a lookup for the database users of the Active Directory users and Active Directory groups and memberships. The connectivity to the database uses TLS to communicate to Active Directory. So we are talking to port 636 on Active Directory. We need the root certificate from Active Directory to do that, and that is going to be contained in a wallet. The certificate can be obtained in two ways. Either ask the Active Directory admin to export the root certificate using a command line utility called certutil. And more easy is by running OpenSSL from any of the database instance servers. OpenSSL s_client minus connect, and then the hostname colon the SSL port for LDAP 636 in this case. It returns amongst other the server certificate. And if you copy and paste begin certificate to end certificate, put it in the root.cert file, then we can use that in creating the wallet. So in this step, we create a wallet that will be put on the database side. Aura PKI is used to create the wallet with a password. Then we create three entries. One is the username for the CMU service, then the distinguished name for that CMU service, and the password. And the last command will add the root certificate to the wallet. Then to test the wallet, if it's configured correctly, we can do an LDAP bind. Here you see the LDAP bind is using -H for the host, -P for the port, and the -W for the wallet file that we created. The -P is the wallet password that we provided in the previous slide, and -U2. That is how the authentication is done. When the bind is successful, we can do an LDAP search to see if we can look up, in this case, an account name called fborden. It can be -U2 at the end, by the way. And that needs to be successful before continuing. If this works, then we are going to the next step. And we are creating a DSI.Aura. The DSI.Aura contains the information how to connect to Active Directory. And this needs to be put in a subdirectory of the wallet location, which is available in the SQLnet.Aura. So if you go to your Oracle Home or your TNS_admin directory, typically $Oracle Home/network/admin. In the SQLnet.Aura, you find, or you have to put your wallet location. In this case, you see the directory specified. And for PDBs, you need to have it in a subdirectory, and the name of the subdirectory is the GUID from $PDBs of that PDB. So in my case, it is the string shown in the bottom of the screen. That is where we put the DSI.Aura, and the DSI.Aura has three entries. The first one is the hostname and the LDAP port and the LDAP-S port. We are again talking to the LDAP-S port. The DSI default admin context is the search base of in Active Directory, and the server type is always AD. This file, the DSI.Aura and the wallet, they contain generic information for the CMU service account, so these can be copied to other database instances as well. Then in Active Directory, we will create a group and add users as members to this group. And through this group membership, persons are able to connect to the database. For database roles, it's the same mechanism. Then we create or we do an alter system for the LDAP directory access. It needs to be password. And next we can create a database user. So in this case, I create a user, app user, identified globally as, and then the distinguished name of the group that I created in Active Directory, and grant create session to that app user, and that's it. In DBA_users, we will see that the username and the external name for that user are available. So the external name is what we specified in the identified globally as statement. Then we can test the setup. So we are using Kerberos authentication. So I do a kinit fborden. It prompts me for the password. And after successful authentication, I can do a SQL plus to my PDB. And if I do a show user, it shows the common user in the database. So in this case, app user. But when I look at the sys context for the enterprise identity, I see that fborden has been authenticated. Yeah, and the final step in this can be the creation of roles. So in this case, I create a role db_app role identified globally as a different group in Active Directory. I could have used the same group, but for the demo, it's better to have it separate and also in real life. And I grant select on a table to that db_app role. And when I log on and select from session roles, we can see db_app role. Yeah, so that is the setup. I will show that in my demo environment as well. For that, I will switch off the presentation and continue in here. So here I'm logged on to my database. You can see my GUID. So this GUID, if I take that, copy it to my clipboard, and in my SQLnet.ora, we will find the wallet location. So if I go to, let me see if I have it here. So in my history, I already have it. So if I go to this subdirectory and the GUID, there I have my dsi.ora file. And also we have the ewallet.p12 and the cwallet.sso file. So my wallet containing the certificate and the CMU service username and password. So here I could do an LDAP bind as well, like this. And you see that the bind is successful. Then on the other screen, I have opened SQL Developer. So I'm first going to have a look at the as sysdba user. I look in the DBA users table view. for users with an external name not nil, and that is my app user. So my app user has an external name for this group. And the same is true for roles. So here I have a DB app role, and that has an external name of app underscore users underscore group. So that is about the setup for the database users and the roles. And this role has the select privilege for a table. And here I have a database user or a Kerberos connection. So if I first of all show user here, and I can connect to my Kerberos user. Let me find Kerberos DB node hrprod. So that is app user. But if I look at my syscontext, we can see that it's the syscontext for the enterprise identity is fborden. And currently, my user is not a member of the group granting the role. So that is why this select statement will fail. Yeah, table or view doesn't exist in Dutch. So I don't have the right privileges. And if I look at my session privs, then I only have create session. Now in Active Directory, let me switch to Active Directory screen. So here I have Active Directory running on Linux under Samba. And with Samba tool, I can show the user. So I do Samba tool user show fborden, that is my user, and these are the groups that this user is member of currently. And when I run this command, Samba tool group add members for the group app user group, I add the member fborden, and now again do the show users, then we can see that fborden has become a member of the group app user group. And when I switch back to SQL Developer and log off, disconnect and reconnect, and these are all the same, but now if I do a select star from session roles as this user, you can see that the db underscore app underscore role has been granted. And with that, I have the privileges to select on this table. Yeah, that ends the demo and the presentation on centrally managed users.